Manchester United secured a vital 3 points, propelling the team to 6th in the Premier League table. And that is the objective. Securing a top 6 finish and Europa League football is the baseline for what this squad should be achieving, especially with the significant advantage of only playing 1 match per week. The first half performance against Crystal Palace was nothing short of atrocious, a display so poor it rightfully sparked conversations about job security. The second half, in stark contrast, was vastly improved, turning a potential disaster into a confusing but ultimately positive result. This stark contrast between the two halves is the central puzzle of this match. The context, however, is crucial. Crystal Palace are navigating the physical toll of 2 games per week, and their record shows it. Every time they have played a midweek fixture, their weekend performance has suffered, consistently dropping points. That fatigue was the defining narrative of the second half. Crystal Palace were visibly and utterly knackered, and United, with their fresher legs, were finally in a position to capitalise. In the opening 45 minutes, Palace were all over us. Their intensity was higher. They were first to every second ball, and they played with a fight that we simply could not match. After the break, their energy levels plummeted. And that is precisely where a 1-game-a-week Manchester United must assert their dominance. We controlled and dominated that second half. And for that, and the 3 points, there is undeniable relief. The underlying numbers, however, paint a far less reassuring picture than the final scoreline suggests. The expected goals data reveals Palace finished with 1.8 xG to our 1.04. But the truly alarming statistic lies in the open play xG, where Palace registered 0.77 compared to our almost non-existent 0.02. A mere 0.02 open play xG is a damning indictment of our creative capabilities from general play. This is not an isolated incident. The majority of our goals this season have originated from set-piece situations. While it is positive that we have players like Harry Maguire, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes who are threats in these moments, it masks a fundamental deficiency. The last 4 performances, even with positive results, do not feel sustainable. It is difficult to be overly critical after a win, but the first half was so fundamentally broken that it cannot be ignored. We entered this game with the clear knowledge that Crystal Palace struggles on weekends following a midweek match, and yet our initial response was to be completely overwhelmed. In the second half, while we improved in possession and territory, we still did not create clear-cut opportunities from open play. Our goals came from a brilliantly executed set-piece and a moment of individual magic. Amad Diallo scored from an almost impossible angle, and Mason Mount found the net with a well-taken finish. The pattern emerging is that in our recent victories, barring perhaps the Sunderland match, we are relying overwhelmingly on individual brilliance to secure the points, rather than a cohesive, repeatable tactical process. The data confirms this alarming trend. Manchester United now lead the entire Premier League in non-penalty set-piece goals, with 10. Furthermore, a staggering 11 of our 19 total goals have come from situations outside of open play. The connection is undeniable and requires no genius to decipher. We are fundamentally struggling to create in open play. This issue is even more pronounced away from home, where 7 of our 10 goals have come from dead ball situations. This creative bankruptcy is a deep-rooted concern that persists even when key players like Lisandro Martinez and Rasmus Højlund are fit and available. This is the primary source of apprehension. We won this match, but the victory felt more a product of our schedule advantage and the opponent's exhaustion than a tactical masterclass from manager Erik ten Hag. The victory was secured because the players emerged for the second half with a renewed sense of fight, and because of the individual quality of Amad Diallo's stunning strike and Mason Mount's composure. My concern is that we are not creating a consistent attacking threat, and that is a monumental problem for a club with top 6 aspirations. Conversely, there is a significant positive to be taken from the fitness dynamic. For the first time this season, it felt like United truly ran out a game and made a tangible physical advantage count in the latter stages. Crystal Palace overwhelmed us early, but after half-time, they faded dramatically. As the season progresses and cumulative fatigue becomes a greater factor, for the 9 Premier League teams involved in European competitions, this physical edge should become increasingly pronounced. Teams like Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Palace themselves, Nottingham Forest. Liverpool, Tottenham and Newcastle all have the added burden of midweek fixtures. When we face these teams on a weekend following their European exertions, we should, in theory, possess a significant physical advantage. We saw a clear preview of that in the second half against Palace. There are two ways to interpret this turnaround. One perspective is that the players showed immense character, matched the required intensity, and their quality ultimately shone through. The other, more cynical view is that the players simply outlasted a tired opponent and produced moments of brilliance that saved the manager from a perilous situation. A loss here would have meant 4 consecutive league games without a win, all of them unconvincing performances. The pressure on Erik ten Hag would have been immense, especially with other rivals like Everton and Tottenham suffering heavy defeats. This win was crucial in alleviating that immediate pressure. The broader league context presents a genuine opportunity. With 9 English teams in Europe, the landscape is uniquely open. The quality within this Manchester United squad is arguably sufficient to challenge for Champions League football, given the current state of the league, provided the players are put in a position to succeed. The critical question is whether the manager can facilitate that. A top 6 finish and Europa League qualification should be the minimum expectation. When you assess the contenders, with Liverpool and Tottenham appearing unconvincing, and Arsenal being the only consistently solid side behind the likely top 2 of City and Chelsea, there is a 4th and 5th place spot genuinely up for grabs. This United squad, with its 1 game a week benefit, could very well sneak into 5th place as other teams suffer from fatigue in the final months of the season. Achieving this, however, is contingent on Erik ten Hag learning how to best platform this group of players. The primary issue with ten Hag's management currently is a lack of adaptability and a failure to consistently play individuals to their strengths. The first half performance was a disjointed mess. To his credit, he made a key adjustment by allowing Amad Diallo to drop into the left-sided pockets in the second half, instead of using him as an ineffective target man. It unleashed his true potential. However, these in-game adaptations are coming after poor starts. He consistently deploys Bruno Fernandes, our most creative force, in deeper midfield role rather than in his best position as a number 10. We see a right-back who cannot cross deployed as a left wing-back, and a natural left-back playing as a centre-back. These square pegs in round holes prevent the team from building a coherent and effective style of play. With the squad and schedule advantage we possess, we are good enough to secure Europa League football. But for that to happen, Erik ten Hag must find a way to unlock this team's potential, something he has largely failed to do consistently. In a general sense, it was a performance of stark contrasts. The 3 points are welcome, and the second half response was positive. Amad Diallo was phenomenal after the break. His goal was a moment of pure inspiration that completely shifted the momentum of the match. Without that moment of individual quality, we might well have lost, as it forced Palace to open up and play into our counter-attacking strengths. His overall hold-up play and passing improved dramatically from a very poor first half. Palace visibly tired, and that granted us a significant physical advantage. While the win is welcome, the manner of it feels unsustainable. It required a world-class goal from Amad and a very good finish from Mount to turn the tide, as we created very little from sustained open play possession. In terms of individual performances, Luke Shaw was phenomenal, making a series of crucial blocks and tackles that prevented us from being 3 goals down at half-time. It was a game to forget for 1 or 2 others, who looked visibly upset after the match. Perhaps due to a harsh penalty conceded from an unfortunate slip on a slick surface. The midfield duo of Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro was overrun in the first half, but improved considerably after the break. It is encouraging to see key players returning from injury and others, like Rasmus Højlund, getting a confidence-boosting goal. Mason Mount grew into the game and made important defensive contributions alongside his goal. We sit 6th in the table. And with the inconsistencies of rivals like Liverpool and Aston Villa, there is a genuine, if unexpected, opportunity to sneak into that 4th Champions League spot. The 1 game a week advantage is our secret weapon. However, whether Erik ten Hag is the man to consistently harness this advantage and organise a team that can play effective, creative football remains the biggest and most concerning question of all.